السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. جزاكم الله خير, my dear respected brothers and sisters, for tuning in, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the sincerity and the barakah in order for us to learn more about how we should function as Muslims bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Today, brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about two important aspects which we started to talk about last week, in which we said that one of the important functions or one of the important organs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with is the heart. And just like you would exercise any body parts, the heart indeed needs some sort of exercises. And that's, unfortunately, many people tend to exercise many organs in their body. When it comes to exercising their hearts, very few of us would do so. So the question here, brothers and sisters, that we need to ask ourselves is how could we exercise our heart, this great organ that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us. Brothers and sisters, in order for us to know how to exercise our heart, we have to know where our limits, or what is the middle ground that we are trying to achieve. And as with any other morality, there is a middle ground that we need to achieve. We don't want to be cheap, but we don't want to be overspending. We don't want to be cowards, nor you want to do things recklessly. There's a middle ground that we need to do, and this is what we call, the scholars have said, صحة النفس. This is like the middle ground that many people try to achieve, which is extremely difficult and extremely important. And anything that goes to any extreme is considered to be a sickness of the heart. Just like any other organ. And that's the part that many of us tend to overlook. That many people, as soon as they have a cut in their finger, as soon as they have an earache or their knee hurts, as soon as that happens, what happens? They rush to the doctor and they want to make sure that they cure it. But when it comes to the actual diseases that makes it or breaks it in our lifetime, the heart, many of us tend to abandon it altogether. And we have to understand one aspect, brothers and sisters, that none of us have a complete, perfect heart. This is something, when we're born with, this is something we're trying to attain. This is something that we're trying to attain. Just like you fuel your brain, just like you fuel your muscles, just like you fuel any other part of your body, we have to fuel our heart in the right way. Otherwise, it's not going to build up and become perfect as we want it to do. And if you have a good moral, like for instance, so what I'm trying to see here, some of us have bad morality in our heart, and some of us have deficiency in some other forms of morality. And if you have a good morality in one thing, then you want to sustain it and continue to preserve that good morality that you have. And if you have something bad within you, this is something that you have to continuously work on. So the question here, brothers and sisters, is that Ibn Qudamah, he gave us here a few points of how could we start trying to cure some of the diseases in our heart. And he said, وكما أن العلة الموجبة للمرض البدن لا تعالج إلا بضدها. He said, just like it's common, just like it's known, that in any disease of the physical body, the way you cure it is with its opposite. Like for instance, if you have a fever, what do? You try to do the opposite, in which that you try to bring the temperature down. If your temperature is down, how would you cure it? You try to elevate your temperature up. And the same thing here. When you have a bad moral, how would you want to cure it? You're going to cure it with its opposite. For instance, like I said, if you are stingy, you cure it by donating. If you have arrogance, you try to cure it by what? By humbling yourself. If you have evilness, try to do, be nice and gentle with the people, and etc. If you have a shahwa, like if you have some sort of a desire towards something, you try to treat it with its opposite. And he says the following, and this is very important, brothers and sisters. Many of us, we recognize our diseases, and and sometimes we attempt to cure some of our diseases in our heart. But the question here, and this is what he said, وَلَا بُدْ مِنْ احْتِمَالِ مَرَارَةِ الدَّوَاء. He said it's known that when someone tries to cure any disease, he has to be patient of how bitter the medicine is. And it's going to be bitter. It's not going to be easy. When you try to, for instance, cure your desire of your shahwa, for instance, looking at the opposite gender, it's not going to be easy. It's like almost for someone who's got used to letting go of their own sight, it's going to be bitter. It's not going to be easy, and you have to do some sort of jihad in nafs, and so you have to struggle with your own self. And that's the best of jihad, brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And those who struggle for us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall guide them. And that's the formula here. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to guide you, struggle for Him. Try to, undo some of the bad characteristics that you have within you. And he said, and that's something that, brothers and sisters, that one of the goals and one of the reasons that makes this disease even more important is the following. If you are sick with your body, does death end this sickness? Yes, of course it does, right? If you are, for instance, if someone have a bad heart, okay, death is going to end that sickness, right? If you have cancer, وَلَيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, death is going to end that sickness, right? But what about a disease in the heart? Does it end it there? It doesn't. Why? Or how? It's going to be carried. How is it going to be carried over? Good answer, but how is it going to be carried over? Yeah, but how? So let's someone is arrogant, okay, and he died. How is that going to be carried over? Yes. Right. But how this arrogance is going to be carried over? I'm telling you, this is how important that is. Right, but what happens until the time you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yeah, of course. So Jazakallah khair, our elderly, and he enlightened. So after you die, if you're arrogant, are you going to be punished for that? It's not going to change, but are you going to be punished for it? Of course you will. So that disease is going to be carried over. So whatever disease that you have, a stingy, arrogant, whatever filth that we have in our heart is going to be carried over. And you're going to be punished for it in the grave. So that's why it's utterly important for us to try to fix these diseases more than any physical disease that we have in our body, brothers and sisters, So, and this is very important because it's something of utter importance, and many people tend to neglect it. And that's the problem that many of the Muslims nowadays are dealing with. It's either we abandon it, and that's the problem. Many people abandon it altogether, but very few would try to fix it. We try to fix it like, we think this disease is going to get fixed within a week or 2 weeks. And what happened is, because they're so strict on themselves, they go back into what they were in. Just like brothers, subhanAllah, if someone have any other physical illness, like for instance, if you have a small cut, do you think this is going to be cured within a day or two? It's going to take, if it was a cut, it's going to take at least 7 to 10 days until you see, until you see a cap, and then after that it's gonna take a little. If it was a cut. But what about if you have a disease in your heart? You think it's gonna fix within a week or no? No. It's gonna take. That's why it's considered to be continuous struggle that you would have to do, and it takes a lot of knowledge. Yeah, for someone, for instance, let's say someone is ignorant of the Deen, and that's very common too. Why do you think there are so many innovations in our ummah? Because of the ignorance of the Deen. Why many people are not practicing Muslims? Because of the ignorance of the Deen, and etc. So it's important that if we have deficiency, that you try to rectify it. And the other thing, brothers and sisters, and no one can cure a heart disease unless they have something called al-azm, which is the will and the power to continue doing this. And subhanallah, subhanallah. This is something. Sometimes we read this at the end of Surah Imran. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu isbiru wa sabiru. What does that mean? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu isbiru. Right? Be patient. And then after that, wa sabiru. What does that mean? Yani sabr. You know what that means? Sabr in doing sabr. So it's not easy. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu isbiru wa sabiru. You have to be patient even when being patient, because it takes a lot of struggle, and that's why sometimes you would have to punish yourself. Here I'm not talking about some of the deviant sect, they want to punish themselves. No, I'm talking about you tend to punish yourself spiritually. What does that mean? Like for instance, some of the Salihin, what they used to do, if they committed a sin, they would, for instance, donate an amount. Or they would fast that many days, or they would pray that many rak'ahs, And there is a beautiful story about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. No. It's actually Imam Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man. Okay, Imam Abu Hanifa. So one brother, he digged a treasure, but he did not know where was it. Okay. So he went to Imam Abu Hanifa and told him, I know I dug the treasure, but I don't know what is it. He said, I have a solution for you. He said, what is it? He said, make i'tikaf in the masjid. He's like, i'tikaf in the masjid to find the treasure? How is that going to work? He said, okay, he made i'tikaf in the masjid. The guy he made i'tikaf for 2 hours, then he rushed out running all of a sudden. And he digged the treasure and came back. He told him, how did you find that? He's like, the shaitan kept telling me, he said, you're making i'tikaf, you're going to be praying and making dhikr. No. I tell you what the treasure, so you could go out and finish your i'tikaf immediately. And the same thing, the shaitan he does not like you. He would not make you commit sins if you're going to respond by doing good deeds. And that's the magical formula, brothers and sisters, So the thing is, so we talked about a few things here. Like for instance, you treat it with the opposite. You have to be patient. It takes a lot of time. You can't do it all of a sudden. That's some of the exercise that you have to do. Now the question here, brothers and sisters, is like, let's say, what are some of the signs that you have a disease? Okay, because this is very important for us to know. Okay, and he said the following. Imam Qudamah, he said, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ كُلُّ عُضْوٍ خُلِقَ لِفِعْلٍ خاص. Like each and every organ in our body is made for a certain goal. Like for instance, the hand is made to grab, And how do we know that this organ it's diseased, that it would stop doing what it's doing? Okay? So like for instance, if my hand stopped grabbing, then there's something wrong with my hand, right? Now, how do we know there is a heart sickness? He said, وَمَرَضُ الْقَلْبِ هُوَ عِلَّةٌ فِي الْعِلْمِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَعْرِفَةِ وَحُبِّ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. He said, you see someone, he does not love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not have wisdom, nor he has knowledge. See these 4 things? Wisdom, knowledge, and knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said that if someone knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if the heart knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would love him. Because there is no heart that have realized and known Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he said وَعَلَامَةِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ حُبِّ اللَّهِ. How would you know that you have the sign that you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That you love Allah. The heart by nature, brothers and sisters, love its creator. And why would it be? The heart by nature is made to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do you know as a human being that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You would give up the love of anything else other than Him when you were compared to it. So if the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entered into a heart, and if it was exposed to any shubha or any desire, it rejects it immediately. Because the love, there is only one love that can occupy the heart, which is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in the heart, then anything can occupy it. The love of the dunya, the love of women, the love of money, the love of nafs, and etc. So if someone he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would immediately reject. And that's the question. This is what you know. Does the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enter your heart, reject any other desires as soon as you're exposed to it? You know? But sometimes, brothers and sisters, it can be tricky. And he said, وَمَرَضُ الْقَلْبِ خَفِي. It's very, the disease of the heart is very hidden. Only few people knows it. And very few doctors, meaning shuyukh, can diagnose it. Now, what I'm going to say here is very, very important. The disease of the heart, like I said, is very, very subtle and very hidden. And not very people can diagnose it. And that's why it's widespread among the Muslims. And that's why most of the Muslims focus on the exterior things rather than the interior things. You see that, how deep that is? In Ramadan, you see many people compete. Quran, Taraweeh is good. No, nothing wrong with that. But what's the ultimate goal here? Is the ultimate goal the Quran and the Taraweeh and coming to the masjid and Qiyam al-Layl and Tahajjud and Ihtikaf? Is that the ultimate goal, or fixing your heart? How many people have said during the month of Ramadan, I'm going to get rid of arrogance. I'm going to lower my gaze. I'm going to be less arrogant. I'm going to have modesty. I'm going to have haya. But many of us, because it's natural human being, brothers and sisters. It's natural reaction. Because we know that we are sick inside of our heart, or because we don't recognize the sickness in our heart, we want to undo it somehow. And that's why many of us would focus on the outside things rather than the things that are inside. And this is something. If you think about it, wallahi, it's very, very important, and none of us tend to focus it, unfortunately. So you recognize we saw some signs here, okay? We saw some signs. How could we know that your heart is sick? Now the question here: how would I know that I am in the middle in this characteristics? Because our ultimate goal, we said that we want to be in the middle of any other characteristics. When it comes to money, when it comes to arrogance, when it comes to any other characteristics that we want to perfect, right? How could I know I'm in the middle? He said, وَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تَعْرِفَ الْوَسَطِ. If you want to know what's the middle, فَانظُرْ إِلَى نَفْسِكَ. Look at yourself, you know. فإن كان إمساك المال وجمعه ألذ عندك وأيسر عليك من بذله لمستحقه فاعلم أن الغالب عليك البخل. He said, expose yourself to one characteristic of the time. My brothers, I know this is very deep, but please, this is something that we need to invest in, please. So he said, let's say you want to know whether you want to know whether you are kareem, giving, or whether you are stingy. Look at yourself. Which one you are more willing to do? Holding the money or letting go of the money? Yeah. You speak for yourself, okay? So which one are you more, like for instance, some people can be the opposite, akhi. Like some people are more willing to give. And that could be a problem too, because we want to know, we want to be 50-50, right? Because the issue here is that if someone is, most people, like you said, more willing to hold. So if you're holding more than giving, then you are not in the middle, right? But when you notice yourself that you are giving and holding, at the same time, then alhamdulillah, maybe you are close to the middle. You see? Maybe the other person could be giving. Maybe, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have criticized these people. إن المسرفين كانوا إخوان الشياطين. Even the one who overspend recklessly, they are the brothers of the shaitan. So that's why you have to be. This is the way you judge yourself. And look at yourself and any other characteristics. Let's say, for instance, that when it comes to tawadu, or modesty, or haya, or kibr, any other characteristics that you think about. Look at yourself. What are you standing? And that's why, and once you set these characteristics, and wallah al-azim, do this exercise. Let's say you go home today and lay down, not 20 morals. Let's just start with 5, ya akhi. Say, what are you standing? And the more you are in the middle, 2 weeks ago, a brother asked, he said, what is qalbun salim? The perfect heart. And he said, once you have all these things lined up in the middle, then you have what we call al-qalb al-salim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that وَأَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ salim, that he come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a perfect heart, with a healthy heart. That's the heart that we want. So my brothers and sisters, that's why it's important. That's why it's extremely subtle to have this middle ground, as if you are walking into this, trying to walk into this middle line, which is Sirat al-Mustaqim. And that's why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala each and every day, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. You are trying to pull yourself between these two extremes. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. Not extreme in one way, nor are we extreme in the other way, and etc. So that's why it's important. And like I said, it's going to be difficult, because let's say before this talk, you did not know. But now you know. And Ibn Qudamah, he gives us an example of how difficult that is. And he said, فَإِنَّهُ سَيَحْلُو كَمَا يَحْلُو الْفِطَامَ لِلطَّفْلِ بَعْدَ قِرَاءَتِهِ. He said, when you're trying to get used, when the baby is used to breastfeeding, okay? Right? And you try, and all of a sudden, you take away the breast milk, the mother will take away the milk from him. What's the baby's going to do? He's not going to dislike it, right? Same way here. Same way you are. Same way I am. We're not going to like it. But later on, after we quit, the baby, within a week or within 2 weeks, he'll start liking what he's doing. Now he's exposed to more food and etc. But initially he did not like it. It was difficult. I want my milk back, I want to continue having breast milk, right? But later on he discovers that the variety of food that now he's exposed to. And the same way when it comes to the human being, brothers and sisters. Nowadays, so we want to continue. We want to know, how could we know what is wrong with us, And he said there is few steps that could help us to know, whether your heart is diseased or not. I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to end with بإذن الله تعالى. And he said, the الطريقة الأولى أن يجلس بين يدي شيخ بصير بعيوب النفس. He said, like the very first thing that you want to know, if you want to know whether you have a sickness, is that you sit to a sheikh that understand these things. And not many sheikh would know these things. You come to a sheikh and ask him, and tell him, advise me, That's the very first thing. Second thing is that you يطلب من صديق. You would have, a second way, if you don't have a sheikh, ask a friend. Ask your friends. Tell him what is wrong with me. But unfortunately, brothers and sisters, we live in a society nowadays. It's looked down upon on someone who tried to show us our mistakes. This is the opposite of what Sahaba and Tabi'in used to do. Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said, رحم الله امرئ أهدى إلينا عيوبنا. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on a person who shows us our faults. And this is unfortunately, brothers, this is very common, and that many people, as soon as you try to advise, like, it's not your business. How can I respond to that? Somebody tell me, "Akhi, I advise you." It's not your business. How can I respond to that? Like if somebody tell, like for instance, a brother, it's not your business. How could you respond to that? Is it your duty? If you, like let's say this is a close friend, okay, and you felt that you're obligated to advise him. Is it your duty? He tell you it's not your business. Yes, it is. How? Where does it say that? A mu'min is, brothers, this is an obligation. It's not like, oh Allah, no, it's an obligation. من رأى منكم منكرا فيغيره بيده. Whoever see a munkar, he should say something about it. You know? وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. Lest there be an ummah that shows the right from the wrong. But what happens if they continue? Ya akhi, you're judging me. You know, they say like, you're judging me. By the way, again, we need to be educated. When somebody tell you, you're judging me, how can I respond to that? You're there, but you're not there. Go ahead. Okay, of course you're trying to help, but when someone tell you, you try to advise him and tell him, you're judging me. I know he's making a mistake, and you're dancing around the point. But you're there, but you're not there. So let me ask you this: when we judge based on things we don't know. But when there is an obvious sin, we're not judging. Like for instance, if someone is holding a non-mahram woman and he's walking outside, am I judging him? No, I'm seeing a haram like right in front of my eyes. This is not judgment. Where do we judge? It's like if there is like something inside, you know, if someone has an sin. Yes, if a sister does not wear hijab, I'm not judging. This is an actual sin that you are committing. You see? So there is no judgment here. Of course, you have to practice wisdom and you have to be gentle and you have to be nice when you give it advice. And we all know that. But the question here is that you're not judging. You know, the only thing that you are we judge or is based on things we don't know. Like I cannot say you're arrogant. I don't know that. That now I'm judging. Because I don't know what's inside of your heart. Of course, yeah. Judging when you don't know what's the situation of. But even like so let's even dig a little bit deeper, okay? Can I know if someone has characteristics of al-munafiqeen? Be careful. Of course. آية المنافق ثلاث, right? إذا حدث كذب, and the example of the munafiq is 3. If he talks, he lies. We know that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that, you know, ولا تعرفنهم في لحن القول. You might see some indications, you know, but you're not allowed to say you're a munafiq. It's haram, because this is something between a person and his Lord. But is there indications? Yes, we might see indications. But are you free to judge? This is judging. But like for instance, but in the same token, if I have a friend that I saw these indications from, there's nothing wrong that I could sit down with him, you know, out of a friend to tell him, yeah, that's what I feel, you know, just kind of watch yourself, that kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with that, you see. So that's important. So because if you look at look Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, even when it comes to nifaq, Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, he's chasing Abu Hudayfa. He's like, among the munafiqeen, look at the self-judging. This is what we want, you know. And even him, he's doubting himself, you know. Why? Because he's waking up, he's making hisab to himself continuously. You know, a salaf used to love when someone gives them an advice, but nowadays it's opposite, unfortunately, you know. And even Ibn Qudamah, he's saying here that he said, وَنَحْنُ الْآنَ فِي الْغَالِبِ أَبْغَضُ النَّاسِ إِلَيْنَا من يعرفنا عيوبنا. Like nowadays, the most hateful people that we dislike are the ones who show us our mistakes. SubhanAllah, it's at his time. For what about our time? SubhanAllah, this is something, it's realistic, you know. People don't like to know their mistakes. And how? And the question, brothers, that's why we are at the situation that we are at. Because if no one show you your mistakes, no one show me my mistakes, how am I going to improve? No way I'm going to improve. We improve based on, a criticism. We improve based on that people tell us what's right and what's wrong, and we continue to do that, And that's indeed, when someone does not want to be advised, he said, this is indeed an indication of dawah al-iman, when your iman is weak. Because you're happy of how weak you are, And that's unfortunately the situation of many Muslims. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us. The third thing, the third way, and he said, and this is very, very, very ironic, I would say. He said, أن يعرف عيوبه من ألسنة أعدائه. And that's true. He said that you would know your mistakes from the tongues of your enemies. Why? Because when I'm your friend, I might cover your mistakes because we're buddy, but your enemy, as soon as he holds something against you, Allah is going to expose you, right? And it's true. And your enemy he's not going to cover up your mistakes. He's going to, and to a degree, it's true, because many people, enemies, want to expose them. And the fourth reason is an yukhalit an-nas, but that you intermingle with the people, and you will see how far are you based on when you compare yourself to others. This is kind of indirect way. So again, if someone wants to know their mistakes or their diseases, ask a sheikh, ask a friend. Look at what your enemies says us about you, and associate with the people. So this is kind of this is the way we try to know our mistakes, inshallah. And the whole point of these lessons, brothers and sisters, is that we try to improve. We want to be better individuals. We want to be better human beings. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among these people. جزاكم الله خير لحسن استماعكم سبحانك وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.